Hello, everybody. Just welcome to the VHF UHF channel. Long time since we done something here. That big blob that you see here is an Orbcom satellite that is actually passing overhead right now. This is an Orbcom satellite. So everything looks fine. Let me just do a little bit of a change here. And we are ready for another live show. Third live show this week. Pretty cool. Here is the star of the show is here. Mr. Paul is in the house. What do you want, human? He's wondering what's happening. Of course, that's the side of the pirate flag. Now back to hopefully a normal picture. There we go. So I put two antennas. Anyways, we're going to start the show and we're going to then talk about the antennas, what I'm using, and what you can use to actually listen to satellites, depending on what you want to listen to as satellites, and what are the satellites that are, the easiest for anybody that has zero knowledge of what they're doing, and what are the satellites that are, the most fun, because there's a lot of satellites that are like, just digital stuff. Anyways, welcome to the VHF UHF channel. Yes, this is the VHF UHF channel. Different from, you're doing the shortwave channel. I hope everybody is going to enjoy today's show. And we're going to talk about the different satellites, the things you can do, things that I haven't done yet that I need to do. And anyways, it's really a basic introduction today. We're going to just look at what's cool that you can listen to, and what's fun, and just be cool. No, radioactive. These glasses have been there for at least a year, I would say, if not, or more than 6 months. Anyways, let me just, I'm pretty sure I had them last Christmas. It's been a while. Maybe you just noticed in the way that they are, And of course, I am tracking satellites. We're going to talk about what do we use to track satellites. I have my Android tablet here with what is Heavens Above app. So we're going to check it out. Over there, I've got an app that's called, which is this one. It's called Orbitron for PC. If you have Linux, one is called G Predict. That works pretty well. It's available if you have a Linux distro. Most Linux distros today have a app store. In the app store, pretty much all of them have G Predict. You got to install it, and you can track satellites with it. There are online websites also to track satellites. So, anyways, we're going to talk about that today. My name is Gilles, and I'm located in the northeast part of North America, which is Montreal, Quebec, Canada. We're here to do some satellite tracking, listening, hopefully, and have fun with radio explaining stuff. I hope everybody's going to enjoy this live show. We have a beautiful chat room where everybody can actually go to, and this all you need is a Gmail account. And of course, you'll be talking with wonderful people that are here to have fun. And you will also, there's the Facebook group, which is official SWL channel on Facebook that you can join and talk about what you're listening. It is shortwave oriented, but sometimes people talk about scanner radios, and I guess anything radio, in general, still is accepted and works fine. So nice to have everybody on board, and hope that you enjoy the show today. Remember, for those that follow me every week, next week is a week off of shows. It will be my last week off before we get back to the normal show that we do on Wednesday and on Friday. So just keep that in mind, that the regular schedule is going to come back the week after. So the next show will be September 9th, I believe. Time is really goes fast as we are going to start September on Tuesday. Pretty crazy. Okay, Bobby Burgess in Morgan City, Louisiana, USA. Hello there. Matt from Denver, Colorado. Nice to have you here, and DK2. Mark Fisher, nice to have you on board. Manishman, nice to have you here. Canadian radio TV guy. Hey there. Nice to have you on board. Helen Giles, nice to have you here from London, England. And says evening, which feels more like autumn than summer. Yeah, we're starting to get those here also. Actually, I was looking at the tree that I have just out the window here, which is a maple tree. And with the sun shining on it, about 10 minutes before the show started, I noticed that a lot of the leaves are starting to turn red. That's a pretty clear indication we're going into that new season of fall and colder weather and things that I like. I kind of like fall, actually. The colors and trees are really cool. I like Halloween. I'm a little kid, so little kid inside. And of course, we're gonna go into winter, and winter radio listening indoors. Still, it's kind of snowstorms that I enjoy watching, and I don't know. Time really goes fast, and with this very weird year too. It's something unique that's happening. It's very peculiar what's happening right now. So hope that you enjoy the show today, and that we answer some questions that you might be asking yourself, or maybe you'll learn something that you didn't know. Rufus Newt, nice to have you here from the Laurentian Valley, Ontario. And Shady Pyro 90 from Courtenay, BC, British Columbia. Shady Pyro 90 getting a weak signal of AO95 on 145920, moving away from the location. And Radioactive, nice to have you here. Hi, Brawler from Arkansas, nice to have you on board. Joe Brown, nice to have you here from Southeast Michigan. Matambali, nice to have you here from Colorado. Paul is big. He doesn't just look big. He's big. 45 unit, nice to have you on board. It's nice to visit your other channel. Nice raining, cooling things down. Here it's a beautiful sunny day, but it's really cool. Yesterday was like, one of those rainy Saturdays that the kind of Saturday, actually the feel that I have, because it often was the case when I was younger. The feel that it gave me yesterday, a cool, rainy, and sometimes it was raining pretty heavy yesterday. was in my teenage and early adult years was a lot of, oh, it's Saturday time at the movies, let's go to the movie theater and watch a movie. So when I see that weather, but on a Saturday, it kind of reminds me, okay, well, Saturday, rainy Saturday, let's go see a movie. And which was something I did a lot. And I guess from the first movie I've ever seen in a movie theater was Superman. I think it came out in something like 78, 79. And I still remember I know it's not radio satellites, but I'll be quick. I still remember we were supposed to go to the amusement park, me and a couple of friends, and we were planning to go to La Ronde, which is the amusement park here for like ages, and wake up on that Saturday morning and it's raining, and we were like bummed out. It was like, oh man, really? We're not gonna go. So we decided, well, how about going into movies? You know, and I remember I saw the first Superman. That was my first movie ever in a movie theater. Anyways, what do we have? Tom DXer, nice to have you here. WPE2QED in Lower Hudson Valley, New York. Understand the times. Nice to have you here, Tom. KC8KSK in South Carolina. Branson, nice to have you here, my friend. What does they look different in VHF than HF? That's the thing. These are my VHF glasses. I have my HF glasses usually. God. Crazy Jane, nice to have you here from the UK. PLF Radio, bonjour et bienvenue de la France. Toujours un plaisir. Radioactive, do you have much GMRS, FRS, MURS activity in Montreal? Less than there used to. It used to be super popular, the GMRS, FRS stuff. It used to be super popular. Kind of the early, it's like new technologies all the time. In the early adoption, it's like they become super popular, and a lot of people, kind of got caught on because the FRS, GMRS were like better walkie-talkies than what a lot of people had in the past. And there's a lot of activity. There's still a little bit. I mean, if you tune around and if I scan the channels, the FRS, GMRS channels, and I do from time to time, you hear activity, a little bit of activity, but it's really not. It's really not what it used to be. Honestly, it really, really isn't what it used to be. It's like, there was a peak, and now it's, Bobby Burgess getting A07 in 2.5 minutes. Kathleen, nice to have you on board. Yes, finally a VHF UHF show. What I was thinking about a VHF UHF show, by the way, is so we had regular shows, then I stopped doing them. And like I say, doing live shows, you need to have a drive for it. You need to feel like you want to do it, because if you don't feel like doing it, it's not fun, and you stop doing whatever. You stop doing, the stuff that you used to do because you just don't wanna, But what I was thinking is we're not going to go back into regular shows for now, on this channel at least. But I'll be doing these Sunday shows from time to time. So from time to time, I'll have we'll actually bring on a specific subject, and we'll talk about that and do a show about it. Some aspects of VHF UHF that some of you know a lot more than I do. I listen to a lot of scanner radio, but I'm much more of my knowledge is much more on the shortwave side than on the what's happening above 30 megahertz. So a lot of the stuff that are that happen on the range of UHF VHF, some of you have a lot of knowledge about it, so it'd be fun to it's going to be fun to talk about it. We will have something different also. I ordered this morning um, I had one, but I didn't like it and I didn't use it, and I wanted to have something different. I purchased on Amazon today a sound mixer that I will be installing here. So I should be getting that Tuesday. And one of the first things and one of the first reasons I wanted one is if you listen to the International Radio Report show on Sunday morning on CKUT, it is noisy. There's a rumbling background. There's, and it's because of the way that I'm set up. There's no possibility of preventing that right now because I'm not set up to, I'm not a recording studio here. So I purchased a nice 8-channel console that I will be able to plug in microphones and inputs and outputs. It has an output for PC, a USB output for PC also, which means that I'll be able to actually drive the audio of everything through the console and drive it in the PC. And so when we do stuff right now, you guys know that I have to put the sound near the microphone in order for you guys to hear what's happening. But with the console, I'll be able to simply, drive the sound in for you to listen to directly, which will be so much better. So with that in mind, I also had an idea with it, and it's that in future shows, I would like to have some Skype or Zoom conversations with people that have a high knowledge of a certain aspect of radio. Something that I can't really talk about much because I don't know too much about, but if you're an expert in one field of radio and want to show your face on the screen here, and maybe even on a bigger screen than that, because that's also something coming up. I think with the possibility of having the console with the sound drive driven in directly, it's going to be fun because now the audio quality is going to be better for you guys, and maybe have an expert from time to time show up on the screen and talk about a specific aspect of radio, and both on the shortwave side and on the VHF UHF side. I think this is going to add another layer to everything that I do already, and I believe this is going to be a lot of fun. And so if there's some experts out there, and I know there are, that want to talk about a specific aspect of radio, and you don't have to be an expert. If you just want to show your face here, be a guest on one of the shows, it's going to happen soon. And so we'll be able to, it could be even fun to just like, okay, next week we're going to have that guy talk about the hobby and how they do it and when they started, and give their own little life story on the live show if you want. So, of course, I'm not going to push anybody because I know a lot of people don't want to be on live shows and on camera. But if you do feel like you want to, this is going to come up real soon. So I'm going to get the console on Tuesday. I'm going to start setting it up. I'm going to start setting things in a way that is the most efficient possible. I'll have all the different sound coming through it. And so the reason for the console first was because I'm tired of the rumbling in the background of the International Radio Report show. And since we know that we're going to be pre-recording the show for quite a while, because studios are not going to open at least before winter, and maybe even later than that. So we're going to end up doing a lot of International Radio Report shows pre-recorded with my equipment here. So one aspect will be it's going to be used for that. It's just going to be much more professional. No background noise and no, humming and no weird rumbling and so on, because it's driving me nuts. I listen to the show on the Sunday morning, and I hear the background noise when I listen to it, and it's driving me completely nuts. So by having a console, this is going to be much better because now I'll have a real professional control over the sound rather than all driving it into my PC using stereo mix and doing it the best way I can, but I can't do it better without having a console to drive the sound. Is going to be so much better. So that's going to be much more fun. And I think this is going to add a dimension to the live shows as we go through in the future also. Neil Toombs, nice to have you here. M0CJM in Basingstoke, Hampshire in the UK. Nice to have you on board. And by the way, I am going to take a sip of my vodka cranberry juice. Cheers. Okay. Catalan, nice to have you here. Said that if the 8 goes maximum for 2 meters, wish it would be available in 70 centimeters and up. That could change through time. We never know. I've never heard FT8 pass 6 meters, personally. Although I never tried on 2 meters, so I need to check it out. Well, I saw movies on TV, Matt, but I did not see a movie at a movie theater until I was 9 years old. Yeah, absolutely. My parents wouldn't go. My parents were not going to movie theaters ever. I never seen my parents, and I don't even think my parents together went to the movies once. I'm not even sure they ever did. I know that I think my mom went to the movies when she was young, but so because the parents don't go to the movies, and we had movies, because there's another thing also that happened is we had movies in school and everything, and I don't know, it just didn't happen until I was 9. This is the way it is. It's and I was it didn't even cross my mind, honestly, back then. I was watching movies on TV and that's it. Catalan, DMR is repeaters only and PMR are the handheld. That's a good question. I'm not super knowledgeable about all of this, but you might be right. Sleeve Garnish, nice to have you here. FF, nice to have you here. It's really not what it used to be, is how some people would describe all of radio. It depends what you do, because it's not what it used to be. It depends on really the aspect of radio, because there's other aspects of radio that are still amazing and are even more, PLF radio, we're going to come to it and check out the satellites. I know that maybe a little later there's a few satellites coming up. I'm going to start by talking about the setup and everything, and we're going to just see what we're going to do. Catalan, U-loop antenna, any good for UHF, VHF? I don't know. I don't know what's the specs of the U-loop. What is the specification of the U-loop? I know it works well for HF, but I don't know if it goes all the way up. Rufus Newt, total noob to the VHF UHF, used to get Q OPP beat patrol with Dicky antenna. Now in the middle of nowhere, getting nothing. What do I need for antenna? So we're gonna check it out. I'm gonna go quickly down the chat because there's less people here, so it's gonna be easier for me to go down. I'm gonna start with all of this for sure. So what else do we have? Neil, it's something like that. I would have to go back to my Amazon to actually look at the name again. I went with the mixing board. It sounds like what you're saying. The name. It is. I went with what I needed. And if I have to buy one, because I thought if I buy one, because I could have the 4, 6, or 8 inputs. And I thought, well, if I am to buy only one, better buy the one with 8 inputs. I will probably never, need more than that. so I'll be okay. Because I was thinking if I take the ones with like 4 inputs, maybe after a while with all the stuff that I do, I was gonna like, oh, 4, okay, I need another input. I need 5 or I need 6 or with 8, I think I'm gonna be okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the thing. The Alice's multi-mix, it sounds like that. I need to go back to my Amazon thing, but I think that's what I got, guys. With USB out, and actually it's bi-directional, USB out, USB in. Tom, the extra great idea about the Skype Zoom for experts to talk about a specific topic. Yeah, that's going to be fun, I think. Catalan says, is there a Facebook page for VHF UHF? No, not for now. Who knows? Maybe someday. Or maybe I don't know, we'll integrate, but maybe we'll separate. I like, a lot of people told me you should integrate a VHF UHF with shortwave. And I tend to disagree, and I tend to rather have those two things very separate, because it's not everybody that's into shortwave that really wants to listen to anything on the VHF UHF range. Like the other way around, some people are scanner buffs, some people are ham radio operators that do 2 meters, 70 centimeters, and so on. They don't care about HF. So I think keeping them separated is a better idea. WF7I Homebrew, nice to have you here from rural Virginia. Great idea to Zoom. I would definitely consider jumping in. I have high-speed internet finally in my house. Cool. That'd be fun. That'd be kind of fun. And having some interaction. So we're going to check it out. What made the interaction not really something that I was considering was because of, like I said, the without a mixing board and everything, it's kind of complicated to drive everything. So I was not at all set up for any of that. But I'd been thinking about a mixing board for a few weeks now. I had actually told Sheldon before we recorded the show a few times, I hear that background noise when we record, when I listen to the show, and driving me crazy. I need a mixing board. And this morning I woke up, I was listening to the show. For some reason, I found it more noisier than usual. And that was if we're going to continue doing that show, I want to have it professional. And professional means let's go all in. I'm going to buy a board, and we're going to have a better audio quality on it. I will be having microphones. I will be having many things. When I get the board, I'm going to check out what cables I need and everything. There's a store not far from here that I can get every cabling that I need and so on. So the board's going to arrive on Tuesday. That means on Wednesday, I'm probably going to go to the store and get all the cables and adapters that I feel I will need to install all of it. I want to have the first run of using it to record with the International Radio Report show on Friday, because we record Friday afternoon, and test it out like that and see how clean it comes out. And I will take also the week of no live shows to set up everything so that next time we have a live show, which will be September 9th, we should have much more in there. Is AO7 really active, says Bobby Burgess? It's an old one, and let me just check it out here. So I'm going to share, first of all, a page that I use a lot for amateur satellites. This is updated regularly, and so you guys, if you want to know the status of any amateur radio satellite, this Japanese amateur, JE9PEL, has it. He updates this regularly. The last update is August 21st. You can download the Word or Excel or CSV file from his website. That's what I do because I like to have the Excel one. But if you just don't want to download anything, just go down. You will see a list of satellites. And all the satellites that are there are going to be listed. The ones that have a yellow line are the ones that are noted active. They have been received by an amateur operator. So you know which ones are active with this. So for example, here, to answer your question, Bobby, A07 or phase 2B has 3 different frequencies that it's operating on. 2 of them are active. One including a beacon on 29502, which is 10 meters. And there's 2-meter activity that's working for downlink. A07, if I'm not mistaken, A07, let me just check it out here. A07, man, I need to, I'm going to check it out after, but A07 has a very unique trace in the sky, if I'm not mistaken. It's one of the first amateur Oscars, yep. No, it's pretty low. Seems normal. Pretty low Earth orbit too. So here, it just passed by at it was 53-degree pass here. So, anyways, we're gonna get to the satellite part. Hang in there. It's the first show for satellite tracking. I want to really be basic and start for beginners today. So we will try some satellites, but we are focusing on what we need, because I think that's where we need to start. And I think this could become a regular, from time to time, show where we will have, okay, satellite tracking. Next Sunday, we're going to do satellite tracking again and build on that and continue on that. So hang in there, guys. MDK2 Matt says it's kind of wild to think you didn't see Star Wars in '77, but yeah, different experiences in different families. Yeah, my family was not at all in there, and you know, I saw Star Wars on TV. Actually, I saw Star Wars on pay TV. We didn't have pay TV, but I was a, you know, tweak guy, and the first way they had done pay TV on cable was kind of just shifting the. It was kind of a shifting of the scan lines or whatever. I don't remember the exact thing, but it was a simple way of just making the image blur. And we had a TV back then that when I would fiddle with the vertical hold and the fine tuning, I would get a decent enough picture to watch a movie on pay TV. And that's where I saw Star Wars for the first time in my life. My parents were gone because my parents didn't want me to do that, because it was telling me all the time that I would break the TV. But they were gone one evening, and I saw that on the schedules that we had for TV. I remember seeing 8 p.m. tonight, Star Wars on pay TV. And I had tuned in about 10 minutes before so I could tweak to make sure the picture's there. And I remember I watched Star Wars for the first time in my life. Not a perfect picture, but good enough that it was watchable and I could follow the movie. And I still remember having a lot of fun doing that evening. First time ever I saw Star Wars. Bobby Burgess, SO50, next to satellite. If I look here, heavens above, the best thing soon. I'm going to try something here. 69, well, that should work. There's one coming up, which is, let me just put it like this because I don't see the names correctly. So that's there's one called Cube Bug 2. Is that one active? Cube Bug 2. Let me just check it out, and I'm going to see if I can tune it here. I don't know if it is. Cube Bug 1. Cube Bug 2. Yeah, LO74. is on 437.445. Seems to be a digital type signal. So on 437.445. I'm going to just tune the, let's go down here. Go to 437.448. And I'll explain why I'm off frequency a little bit. And we're going to see if we hear anything on that using antenna B. Okay. We'll check from time to time if we see any trace of a signal. Its peak is going to be at 20 hours and 45 minutes, 69 degrees over my head. So in 10 minutes from now, it's going to have a peak. So we'll see if we hear anything or if I hear anything there. What else do we have? What else do we have? Hubert Major, bonjour et bienvenue. Nice to have you on board. Cool to have something about satellite tracking. I appreciate that part of the hobby. Thank you. Neil Toombs, use the Multimis 8 here, have scanners connected to it, feed the analog audio output to amplifier, and PC USB to a standard USB codec device, and is USB in and out. Great 8-channel mixer. I read a lot of the comments, and everybody seemed to be super happy with it. That's why I chose that one, and it wasn't too expensive too. Plus, I had there was a problem with one of the orders, and they had given me I had totally forgotten that they gave me a $20 rebate that I could use at the checkout. So when I went at the checkout, it told me, it said, "Oh, remember, you have a $20 rebate. You can apply." And I said, "Oh, please do apply $20 rebate." That's even more interesting. Radioactive LO74. So yeah, CubeBug 2. That's the one that's coming up. LO74. That's one thing you got to be also wary about, is that satellites often have several names. So, like AO73, for example, is FunCube 1. They have different names. It sometimes is a little, it's kind of a way to mix up the names, and you kind of wonder which one is that exactly, so it's not always super easy to know. What else do we have? FF, new to this channel, how often do you go live? I used to have a weekly show here, but now I had not done any shows live here for a while. I'm trying to kind of reactivate the channel because it's monetized. It's got enough views and of subscribers for that. And it's been kind of in the back of my mind, thinking what I'll bring to the channel. So I'm slowly reactivating all of this. Man Reader DXer, good evening. Nice to have you here. Ronald, nice to have you on board. I would like to invite you all into my World Shortwave and Toy Robot Museum via Zoom. Cool. That would be great. So in a few weeks' time, when I get the grasp of the console and everything, we're gonna have regular guests on the shows on the shortwave and maybe here also. Regular folks that want to just show up, talk about their own stuff, and also have experts talk about serious stuff. So what else do we have? So Bobby Burgess got a NOAA satellite. Let me just check it out here. Check that here. Ain't got nothing here. It's weird. So am going to check it out, but we have no more pictures. Let's just either 18 or 19. So NOAA weather satellites are part of satellites we can listen to. Rufus Newt says my first theater movie was American Graffiti, Grand Theater in Dunnville, Ontario. American Graffiti. Brian Penny, nice to have you on board, and cool. Nice to have you here, and just for you, Brian, and for everybody, of course, the star of the show is here. Ouch. Okay, my camera's like, here we go. Da 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 da. So, Mr. Paul. Mr. Paul is in the house. Mr. Paul is in the house. So, like this. Nice to have everybody on board. Okay. Yeah, upload it to the Facebook group. It's okay, Bob, because I got like a million different things. So, you know. Yes, absolutely, Brian. He's on my sweat. He's on my hoodie. He just, you know, wants my hoodie. That's the one he wants. Moderator The Exer says Paul is in the director's chair. That's the thing. That's the director's chair. Now he's sleeping because he knows everything's all right. But you know, if he raises his head and looks at me and stares, that means I did a faux pas. So, anyways, first things first. What do you need to listen to satellites? Okay. And you'll be surprised at how little you actually need. The first time I've ever received a satellite, just to give you guys an idea, so there's a frequency counter, was with this little fella here. This is the first time I've received a satellite. It was on a good old Pro 43 scanner radio. Still works and has batteries, actually. Look at that. So this was by accident. This was by accident. And I was basically enjoying a nice summer day. I was on vacation, if I remember well. And that is, I don't know. So I got this in 1991, maybe 2, somewhere. I remember it was all new. I remember when I got this, I paid like the big bucks for it because I didn't wait for it to get on sale. And because I wanted it because of its capacity of receiving the UHF military airband. And of course, it was modifiable, and it is modified for the cell phone. So I often say that if you want to have fun on radio, is to tune around and scan around everywhere. And I actually have scanned around. In one day, I was on, I believe, 137. No, it's a Cosmos satellite. I was on 150 megahertz, around there. And I received something that sounded like a radio teletype. And I thought it was very curious. I thought it was very curious because it was fading in and out. I was using this exact rubber ducky. So it gives you an idea. Just the main rubber duck antenna that's with the radio. And I was wondering what it was. I heard it for about 10, 15 minutes. It was gone. And I was like, okay. But that afternoon, I was scanning that range all the time because I was like, I want to hear if there's something else in here. And 90 minutes later, an hour and a half later, which is the typical time of a satellite to go all around the planet and come back to your position, if it is still in good enough position to be heard, it's there again. And I hear it for about 10 minutes and it's gone. And I'm surprised because I don't know what it is. I wonder why it's there every 10 minutes or so. And for 10 minutes. And you know, I don't know you could hear satellites with this. I have no idea I can hear satellites with this. I am a total ignorant satellite guy back then. And it stayed like that. It stayed like that. And I don't I believe I, scanned that range and heard that again a few times without knowing what the hell is that, but being curious that I am, continued scanning all the time. And one day, I believe it's in Monitoring Times, there's a article, and it's something like an article that's called like Graveyard Satellites or something like that. And it picks up my curiosity, and the guy's talking about dead satellites that have come back to life in the VHF range and that you can listen to. And he's really, it's a very good article about like doing some detective work to actually find out what satellite that could be and the frequencies they use and so on. And with the article, I'm starting to understand, because he talks about the different satellites that are on orbit, like the Cosmos satellites, the NOAA satellites, and so on. I suddenly understand, man, I must be listening to satellites. And he mentions the frequencies of the Cosmos satellites in his article, if I remember. And they are the frequencies I'm listening to. And I'm like, I was listening to Cosmos low Earth orbit navigation satellites, and I didn't know about it. But it was clear that it was that, because he explained how it was roughly 90 minutes for the orbit and all of that. And I was like, okay, yeah. When I hear it 2 times, it's roughly an hour and a half that goes through, and it's like, wow, okay, this is cool. That's where my passion for satellites started. But it actually expanded because the article mentioned the different frequency ranges that you could tune satellites, and mentions that you don't need to have a big gun scanner. You can have, just a bottom of the line scanner that just does the job, and it works, and it's going to do the job to give you satellite listening. It's not the best, but it works. And so I learned that 100, and so the frequency ranges that are the most popular for different types of satellites, you have NOAA weather satellites like NOAA 18, NOAA 19, that are active, that send weather pictures. And actually, Bobby Burgess is posted a picture, and let's just get what it looks like here. So I don't know if he's posted yet, but official channel. But yep, here we go. So here's Bobby Burgess decodes of some weather pictures by NOAA 18 or 19. He's not really sure. So pretty nice. So these are the codes that he has, actually. So some of these very nice. So this is something you can actually do also, decode some of those pictures from NOAA weather satellites. And it's part of the hobby that you can do. So 136 to 138 megahertz NOAA weather satellites are there. NOAA 18, 19 with what's called APT, which is a mode of transmission that you can decode for pictures. There's Orbcomm satellites. When the show started, those that have seen it on the display, there was a wide signal on my display. It was actually an Orbcomm satellite that was on the display when the show started. I was getting one of the Orbcomm satellites, which is the Orbcomm satellites are for satellite or what they call the satellite phones. Satellite phones use the Orbcom satellite constellation for communications. There's a lot of Orbcom satellites in orbit, and they have that digital hash that they download. There's a software, actually two pieces of software that can decode a little bit of it. If you want to know what satellite it is, one is Orbcom Plotter. The other one is MultiPSK, has the Orbcom decoding mode. What you're going to get in there, don't get excited, is mostly information that's going to tell you which satellite it is. So it's going to identify an ID if you get a good enough signal on the computer display, what satellite you're actually receiving. So 136 to 138 megahertz is the first spectrum you should listen to. Around 149 800 to 150.200 is another spectrum. In there, there's Cosmos satellites, so Russian low Earth navigation satellites. Nothing to decode there. You know, there's a few videos on the channel that I show you an example of Cosmos. And it's funny because a lot of people, like comment, usually people that don't do radio really, that just want to comment, do stupid comments. Well, so why are you listening to this? It's just noise or whatever, And it's the fact that, well, you're getting a satellite. You're receiving a signal from space. I mean, it's just cool. I don't care if I don't have a clear conversation. I don't care if it's, something I can't decode or understand. I am just amazed at it's a signal from space. When the show started, that Orbcom, I don't care if I can't grasp the overall, digital signal there, but I see it, I hear it. It's from a satellite that's orbiting right over us at that moment. It's just real cool. So, you at the most basic level will need just a regular scanner radio. If you have one, it's a great way to maybe dust out that scanner radio that's left somewhere in your, basement, or in your, you put it in a box and there's like, yeah, I wonder if that old scanner radio works for that. Yes, it does. There are satellites that you can tune with this. They are more limited because regular scanner radios do only, for the most part, are pre-programmed for FM on those frequencies. Some that you go from AM to FM, but most scanner radios are pre-programmed for FM. It limits what type of satellites you'll be listening to. And then there's, of course, like my ICOM ICR30, ICR20, my ICOM ICR 8500 here. If you have an SDR, those are capable of upper lower sideband on the VHF UHF range. That adds you another dimension of what satellites, including some really fun amateur satellites where you will actually hear people talk and do conversations. Here, you also can hear people talk and do conversations. There's a set of amateur satellites that actually are FM repeaters in the sky. And that can be received here, even with a basic scanner radio. What else do we have? We have Understand the Time says, I love the older Radio Shack scanners. My first was the Pro 44 from about 93. Still have and use it. I was a big scanner buff back then. I actually listen to, look at all the new scanners. I would go to Radio Shack and see all the new scanners. And, every time they had the new catalog, they had all the new models. And I was drooling over which ones I might want to have. I would actually spend a lot of time and a lot of money buying new scanner radios. But I got to say, this one, for the portable Radio Shack scanners you could get, This one is one of the best portables they actually ever made for realistic scanners. Scan speed is amazing, and the Pro 43 is, in my opinion, one of the best portable scanners that existed. Fast scan speed, doesn't overload easily. It will on outdoor antennas, but these are handheld; they're not made for that. But I've had crappy scanners. I still remember a Pro 26. The one that went to 1.3 gigahertz. I thought it would replace this, maybe. Forget it. A piece of crap that cost a fortune. Overloading everywhere. You guys know my overload problems here. So imagine if a scanner radio is bad, how it just can't cope. Well, the Pro 26 was that crappy thing that they sold at one point. And they advertised it as, oh, well, you know what? This goes to 1.3 gigahertz. I remember the seller at Radio Shack. I told him, I said, I've got a Pro 43, And he said, oh, but that one goes to 1.3 gigahertz. Which, of course, in scanner radios is kind of a selling point. They're kind of trying to tell you, well, more frequencies, more stuff to listen to. No. Because in reality, first of all, the scanner was so crappy, forget it. In reality, there's pretty much nothing to listen to also. So basically, my Pro 43 was a much better radio. And I sold the Pro 26. I sold the Pro 26. No, I was not a nice guy. I put an ad up and I said I got a scanner for sale. The reason why is it here? Is the other one here, or is it somewhere else? Oh, it's over there. I wanted to have the first trunk scanner that actually was on the market, the Radio Shack Pro 92. And it costs a lot because it came from the US, so I had to get some money. So I sold the Pro 26, something like $240. And I sold it because it was crap. Of course, I didn't tell the seller, the buyer, that it was crap. I just wanted to get money and buy my new one instead. He was like, I want it. And he said, why are you selling it? So he had a good point there. It was like, why are you selling it exactly? And I said, oh, I want to get a trunk scanner that's going to come from the States. And I need money because it's very expensive. And he said, oh, okay. And off he went with his purchase. And I got the Radio Shack Pro 92 at that point with trunk capabilities, which I did enjoy quite a lot. I just got screwed by every part of the shipping process, but which I didn't know because it was the first time maybe the second time I had ordered something from the US. For the guys that don't know the story of the Pro 92, it's a worth its story. So it was, I believe, $350 US. And it was from, I think, Universal Radio. If I'm not mistaken, it was Universal Radio or a place like that I purchased it from. It, of course, $350 US meant that I was at almost 500 Canadian dollars because the dollar was crappy back then. So we're at 500 Canadian dollars now. And I'm like, okay, 500. I'm ready to pay 500. They ship it. And two things I didn't know. First, when it got here, I had to pay the taxes back then, and that was totally new because I had ordered a few things, but I didn't know that, and what I learned is when you buy expensive stuff, you have to pay the taxes. And they shipped it with UPS instead of shipping it like, with, the US Postal Service or something like that. And UPS is, if you ever send me something, guys, never send it with UPS because I will have to pay a huge amount of money to get whatever you're sending me. And so the scanner came from UPS, and I had no idea that was happening back then. So we're at 500 Canadian. Taxes, we're at 570 Canadian dollars. UPS at the door gives me the box and says, "Oh, by the way, it's going to be 115 bucks." So now I am screwed at almost 700 Canadian dollar scanner radio, which I would have never have ordered if I knew it was going to be costing that much. But anyways, it was at the door, and it was like, yeah, what do I do? Send it back? No, I'm not going to pay that. Bring it back. The box was there. I could see the scanner radio. And it's like, I really want it. And after all I paid anyways, the hell, for 115 bucks. So it's a dreadfully expensive, the Pro 92, dreadfully expensive experience that I never wanted to do again in my life. But so basic, you need a scanner radio with rubber duck, and you'll have some stuff that you can listen to there. At more interesting level, well, you get something that is called a communications receiver that will have upper lower sideband capabilities and VHF UHF. And like an ICOM ICR30 I have here, ICR20. I've got the big gun ICOM IC R88 8500 here. These are very not expensive and do all of that and are very sensitive and very good. So an SDR Play, RSPDX. I've even received some satellites using this really cheap RTL SDR V3. And it actually is surprisingly good. You want to do entry-level amateur satellite reception, and you want it to cost as minimum amount as possible. Well, with a decent antenna, this is probably the cheapest way to start. It's like 30-ish bucks, and you are going to have a capable enough receiver for satellite listening. Plus, you'll be able to enjoy all modes because this will give you upper lower sideband for amateur satellites that are in single sideband. So I would say that the starter kit for VHF UHF satellite tracking listening, RTL SDR V3 is a decent proposal for what it does for that. You want to have a little more power, a little more quality of reception on the VHF UHF satellites. An SDR Play is the next step. You can go to an SDR Play device, and you'll be set up to receive satellites. And what's nice with a SDR is that waterfall. You're actually able to see the satellite signal on the waterfall. So that's for the receivers. But what kind of antenna? Well, here's the thing. Portable rubber ducky works, but it doesn't work super well. It's a little more difficult to hear the signals on that. One of the things you'll have to do if you do try with one of these is you'll have to move around. The best is go outside, because on a VHF UHF range, the roof over your house, and if you live in a condo with other condos around, apartment complex, even worse, the higher the frequency you're listening to, the easier the signals get blocked by everything around you. So you might need, with just a scanner like this, to go outside to have a clearer and stronger signal. You could go outside in your balcony, in your backyard. you'll have to move around with the scan. You'll see that there are positions that you're actually going to be in where the signal is going to be much stronger. And that's because this is omnidirectional. And by moving it around, you're actually going to kind of have somewhat of a directional pattern on it. And you'll be able to get where the signal might be the best. And as the satellite moves over you, you'll have to move constantly. You'll see that you'll have to move in a certain pattern to actually have that signal as strong as possible on a regular scanner. Now, that said, what else can you add to make it better? One of the antennas that I don't have right here, but it resembles strangely this little thing here, is a telescopic, a wideband telescopic. So on eBay, mine that I purchased, it's not this one, by the way, but one that I purchased was at Radio Shack. They had a wideband telescopic antenna. So you see here with a B and C at the bottom. Today's radios are SMA, but a lot of the radios back then were B and C connectors. So you might want to have one of those wideband telescopics. This gives you a little more on a portable scanner. It gives you the ability to extend or close sections. And what does that do? Remember that we often talk on shortwave about meter bands, even on VHF. Why do you call the 145 megahertz range of amateur radio 2 meters? Is the wavelength. So your antenna to resonate correctly needs to be at a certain length that will resonate with the frequency you're listening to. By having a wideband telescopic, you can actually remove or add sections, so it will be less or more long, depending on the frequency range you're listening to. Typically, the higher the frequency will go, the shorter the antenna will be to be resonant on the frequency you're listening to. That is a step, another step to have a little more signals out of your satellite listening experience. Satellites are, to get the best signals, often it's a directional antenna. Any amateur radio operator that does serious satellite work has directional Yagi antennas and all sorts of directional pattern antennas, including for the NOAA weather satellites you want to decode pictures. Having a specific antenna for that that is more directional also is going to give you stronger signals, better decodes. It's going to be a lot better. So antennas could be interesting, and you don't have to spend a lot of money. There's so many antenna projects online that you can look at, that people have put online, the schematic and how they build them, even YouTube videos of how they build different directional antennas for satellite tracking and so on. So all of that can be not, it can be a weekend project if you want, and not cost a lot of money. Of course, there's commercial antennas you can purchase, which are more expensive. What I have here, and there are kind of what's popular in antennas for VHF UHF. So on this SDR play right now, I actually modified what antennas I have today for this show. Usually I have 2 shortwave antennas, 1 VHF antenna for on the SDR device. But because today we're talking VHF UHF, I wanted to make sure I have all capabilities that I can actually have. And I do have 2 outdoor antennas that are VHF UHF capable, or one is VHF capable, the other one is wideband. So I put on this receiver the 2 antennas that I have available. One of them, and that's when I go to antenna A, I've got the K180 WLA loop antenna. So you guys, I've posted several videos on the channel. I've shown you guys what it is. It's like an MLA30, but it is wider frequency. So it's from it goes all the way up to 180 megahertz in the specifications. That is um, the specs, but I've had some decent performance even on the UHF range at 400 megahertz. So that's one of the antennas. The other one is an old antenna that I wish I would have purchased more of back then, because so the electronics store that I go here, Addison Electronics, they used to have a wall of antennas. They used to have every kind of antennas you can imagine in the times of CB radio and scanner radio and all of that. And of course, as the time went, at some point when all of that was not popular anymore, people wouldn't buy antennas anymore. So they had a big sale. And there was a vertical wideband VHF UHF antenna that they were selling for, like, I think it was like $50 at the time. They put every antenna on sale, and I'm telling you, this was crazy. Every single antenna they had on that wall was on sale for 99 cents. CB radio antennas, and I wish I would have taken the time to look at it a little more back then, because I'm sure there were tons of antennas I could have grabbed. And I mean, imagine in today's world with eBay and all of that, man, 99 cents antennas, I would have made some money with that for sure. So I'm starting out at the scanner radios back then, and I go there one day to get my electronic parts, as I always do. And what happens is I stumble upon the alley of antennas to notice that they're all 99 cents. And I'm like, what? And I look at the antenna that I was looking at for scanner, but at $50, I thought it was kind of expensive. And I didn't have a lot of money back then. So, I said maybe one day, well, it was 99 cents. So I purchased one. But, there were maybe 10 of them in the alley. I should have took all 10 of them, honestly. But I took only one. That antenna is a wideband mobile vertical. It goes and it is rated to not just receive, it is also rated for transmit. So that antenna is a wideband 30 megahertz all the way up to 1.3 gigahertz. And it is rated that it can actually is resonant for transmit on 2 meters and 70 centimeters in the way that it's built with the coil in the middle. It's, of course, a mobile antenna, so it's a mag mount. It requires you to actually put it on a metal plane if you want it to be, in a good pattern for reception and transmission. Of course, I'm very lucky here to have a big metal shed in the backyard. So I just put it on top of the big metal shed. I mean, it's so funny because the metal shed is very high. So when I went up the ladder to put it there, I was like, well, this is kind of high. I'm just going to like put it like this on top. I went to the highest point in the ladder I could go. And then I put it, I was a little kind of a scaredy cat here. And I thought, I'm going to put it there. And when I get the courage up, I'll put it somewhere else. When I put it on top, the mag is so strong that it did spack on the top. And I just couldn't budge it anymore. And I was like, okay, looks like it's going to stay like that forever. And anyways, it's working well and positioned well. And it clears the roof. So it has a pretty clear view all around. And I have been having amazing results with that antenna. If you look at all the satellite reception, I did videos on this, except for the last couple of weeks. All the satellite videos that I'm listening to satellites that are more like 3 months or older are all done with the mobile vertical that you see. And it is very surprising. If you look on my channel, there are some International Space Station slow scan TV decodes, all done with that vertical antenna. Pretty amazing. So it gives you an idea of, you maybe could have something that's not too expensive as antennas for that. One antenna that might work decently well, and for satellites, I had never tested it. Because what happened is I used to own one, and it's called a discount. Discounts are probably some of the most popular scanner antennas around. They're kind of very wideband. They look like an umbrella that doesn't have anything on it. Like just the skeleton of the umbrella, if you want. I used to have the Radio Shack discount. They used to sell one, and I had purchased the Radio Shack discount back in early 90s because I wanted to have a decent antenna to plug on the Pro 2006 that used to be here where the clock is, that is on the other side because I'm doing some changes. And that discount actually was a pretty decent discount. It worked pretty well. And it was plugged on my Realistic Pro 2006 scanner. What happened is that I put it up outside. It stayed outside for 3 years, summer, winter, whatever weather. When I moved here, what do? You got to, dismantle the discount. Well, every single metal thing of the discount, when I was actually trying to unscrew, instead of unscrewing, they would just break. So it was like clack. What? I've got a piece of the antenna now. And none of them I could unscrew. They all were snapping quite easily also. Every time I wanted to, remove one of the rods of the antenna. So I ended up thinking, okay, I'm gonna crap out that antenna now. It's not gonna come home, from what I see. So I put it in the garbage, and I thought, someday I'll get another discount. I never did. I sometimes have, Fazlo gave me a discount that he thought didn't work well, and it didn't work well at all. It was that, I don't know what happened with that antenna, but that was crappy. It didn't work at all as an antenna. So what we're gonna do is that I was thinking from time to time, we're gonna really try to maybe get a discount at some point somehow. I was looking at ICOM. There's ICOM that has one that's very wideband. There's Diamond, I think, is the other brand that has discount antennas that look interesting. So that could be something I might want to do in the near future. Who knows? Maybe I could think about this before the winter sets in. Have a discount, buy a discount somewhere. I'm gonna check it out and see what happens. So it's a long story. Okay, what else do we have here? What else do we have? Radioactive using RSPDX and a 2-meter base antenna with Arbitron and JEPEL website. Cool. Neil Toombs got a Pro 43. DF Sahari, nice to have you here from Algeria. 7X2DF. Matambali, nice to have you here, and thanks for sharing the NOAA birds. Madrid DXer, I don't do much satellite DXing, but today I received AO92 and XW2F with a Jupiter scanner and its whip antenna outdoors in the field. So it shows you, okay, Jupiter antenna scanner is a little more it's a little more expensive than the regular down to earth scanners, but it gives you an idea. Just a little scanner radio, whip antenna, and you're outside and you actually receive. Darren Haig, nice to have you here. Newbie, are cross dipoles a good starter antenna to start listening to satellites? They have to be in general resonant as much as possible to the frequency you're listening to. They also, having a directional antenna is really, really something that helps you a lot. FF says, let's try some spy satellites. So what else do we have here? No problem, Matt. Take care. And hopefully we'll still be on. We'll still be on when you come back. Okay. Catalin, what about the antennas? Yagi, QFH, left hand polarized, right hand. So for the antennas, and I'm not an antenna expert here, there are different types of polarized antennas, different type of antennas. Helical antennas are great for the NOAA weather satellites. There's a lot of stuff, and you know what? That's one aspect of the hobby that maybe we'll have an expert on that knows more about antennas. And of course, I will be doing more reading. I've actually purchased on Amazon a ARRL handbook for antennas for satellites. They have a specific book for antennas for satellites. So I'm going to look at the designs and look at the antennas in that book, and I'm probably going to learn a lot of stuff. Hey, Estrella, nice to have you here, my friend. Nice to have you on the VHF UHF channel. Keegan, nice to have you here. XN80Xer, Northwest Arkansas. Joe Brown is using a Burkhat BC125AT handheld scanner for satellites. Made my handheld Yagi antenna for receiving 70 centimeters. Works well. So, that's an example. You could do, have a weekend project and build your own little antenna. That's one aspect, actually, that is kind of interesting. I saw a few designs that are not too difficult to do that I would probably like to try and build, actually. Catalin, Earth, Moon, Earth is what I wish I would be able to do at some time, at least once. That's pretty crazy, Earth, Moon, Earth. For those that don't know what that is usually they use, most of them are done in very high frequencies, like in the gigahertz range, but I know that some have done it in like 2 meters. Earth, Moon, Earth is a side of the amateur radio community that actually bounces a signal off the surface of the moon. That requires very, very sensitive equipment, and they use these very well-designed low noise amplifiers to be able to kind of dish out that signal that comes back from the moon. Star TV, nice to have you here. Oh, that FF, the it's just noise is probably common to everybody, and that's listening to the radio with everybody around them. I still remember when I started shortwave way back in the 80s. I would wake up in the morning, early mornings. My brother would wake me up because he would go play golf, and he would want to be at the first to leave or to start at the golf course. And he would wake up at 5 a.m. And I remember I would tell him all the time in my summer vacations, oh, when you wake up for the golf, wake me up. I'm going to go listen to the radio. And every time it was always the same. It was, I would, sit down in front of the radio at 5 something a.m. He was about to leave for golf. And I still remember he was as he was leaving, it was like, well, have fun with your noise. That I think is common to a lot of us, the noise level, the noise aspect for everybody else. We hear the stuff, they hear the noise that's just annoying. FF says, same thought process about shortwave. Amazing. I'm listening to people have conversations through waves bouncing around the sky. Absolutely. It's amazing when you think about it. Yupiter MVT 9000. Wow. I remember seeing that. These are nice radios. What else do we have? Tom the Xer. I have a Realistic Pro 44 here that I found among my late father's things He was a captain in the New York Fire Department, and used it to listen to his local fire department. Is this a good scanner for satellites? Like I said, the Pro 44 is one of those basic. It's like the Pro 43. It's a basic scanner, and what it does is that it will let you listen to what an FM scanner radio will do. So honestly, anybody that has a scanner radio hiding somewhere, you should actually go and dust it off, because even if in your mind, because that's something a lot of people don't see. I'll give you a perfect example. When I was doing a lot of scanner and I started listening to the satellites, one satellite that was truly, if you wanted to wow everybody, there was one called Dove. And it's sad that it's not doing its stuff, because it's just crazy. It was a digitized voice, and the digitized voice would just say, "Hello, Earth. This is Dove in space." And it would repeat it, I believe, a couple of times, sign off for 30 seconds, sign back in, and then it would say again a few times, "Hello, Earth. This is Dove from space." Every time that was so, I found that was so cool that every time I knew Dove was passing overhead, I would rush outside with the scanner and listen to Dove. And believe me, I listened to that satellite with this so many times. So one day, I'm talking with one of my friends, the same friend actually. So for those that follow me on the shortwave, I told you that one of my best friends, they're still friends today, by the way, also started off with shortwave at the same time I did, because he saw my shortwave radio and he was so amazed he wanted to have one too. And later, every time I would do something, he would always want to do it also. So when I got into scanners, one of the things that he said is, "Oh, I want to be in scanners too." You're listening to the police and stuff like that. The only difference is when he decided to do that, I had this scanner, which is a Pro 43, which was the top of the line for Radio Shack. And he got a Pro. I don't remember which one it was. It was I don't think it actually did 800 megahertz, and I think it was one of those lower end that ends at 512 megahertz. And when we buy a radio, we have an impression. So this costs more, this must be better, was the way of thinking. And when he got his scanner, of course, the reference of frequencies and what to listen to and how to program was me. So we would hang out a lot, and we would, program his scanner, and I would explain to him what he could listen to and stuff. But his impression was, well, that's a, $400 scanner, and I have got a $200 scanner. It can be as sensitive or as good as your scanner. And I remember back then telling him, well, you know what? It's just the range of frequencies that changes the price. Yours stops at 512. This one goes at 960, plus has what not a lot of radios have, the UHF airband for military. So I was always telling him, it's not necessarily that your radio is not as sensitive. Mine just has more frequency range, more memories, and it scans faster. You're paying for extras. You're not necessarily paying for a more sensitive radio. You're paying for more gadgets in it. And so many times we listen to the same stuff. And I was telling him, look, you're getting the same stuff that I'm getting. It's just that I'm getting stuff where you cannot tune. That's all. When Dove in Space was put into orbit and started, I told him, I said, hey, you know what? There's a cool satellite in space that you can listen on the radio. And he immediately told me, oh, yeah, but you got the good radio. That's why you can get it. And I said, no, you can get it too. And he was so skeptical. And I remember it was an evening, summer afternoon. And it was a beautiful summer afternoon. And I said, you know what? I want to go play tennis. And he says, oh, yeah, sure. So we went to the court to play tennis. But I told him, I said, bring your scanner radio with you, because we're going to take a break in our tennis and listen to Dove that's coming over this afternoon. So he brought along his scanner radio, and we're playing tennis and everything. And I had one of those electronic watches back then that like beeps when you put an alarm on it. So I hear beep, beep, beep. It's like, oh, time to take a break from the tennis. And we went to sit down on a bench, and I said, you're going to turn on your radio. You're going to tune that frequency, and you're going to hear something. You're going to hear that satellite I'm talking about. And we're sitting down, and the satellite, I remember, didn't have a very high pass, but it passed twice during our afternoon. And at some point, he's tuning around, and he's like, I say, move your scanner, like, you'll hear something at some point. And then he's like, oh, wow. And at the position that he's holding it, I'm hearing out of his scanner, hello, Earth, this is Dove from space. And I'm like, yeah, that's a satellite. It's an amateur radio satellite in orbit passing over right now. And he's like almost jumping up and down. And I said, when I tell you your radio gets the same thing that I'm getting on mine, there you go. You just got your first satellite. And we continued tennis after that. And 90 minutes later, it passed again, and we heard it again. And it was kind of a fun afternoon, one of those really cool afternoons. It was like we went, I remember usually when we would play tennis and do stuff in the afternoon, we would each go our ways, at supper time and everything. And I remember that afternoon says, yeah, any other satellites we can listen to? I said, oh, yeah, there's a few tonight. Come over to my place. We're going to go on the balcony. We're going to sit on the balcony and listen to music. And when satellites pass over, we're going to try them out. But cool moments and truly cool moments of when you're younger and with friends, and I was privileged to be able to do that with a friend that also found it so fascinating. Because honestly, I was alone. So many times I was in the park all alone, like jumping up and down. It's like, I'm hearing a satellite. But everybody's like, just like, what's that weird guy with a walkie-talkie in his hand? Oh, man. No problem, Branson. Glenn Zeckman, nice to have you here, Glenn. Bobby, Arbitron and Am Radio Deluxe 5 is great and can track satellites using any software using CAT, but I think they are abandonware and doesn't have everything. Yeah, the version 5 is abandonware. Arbitron has not been updated in a long time. This is what you see here. Arbitron is a satellite tracking program that I'm using here. That's the other aspect of knowing when satellites are over when you listen. Ham Radio Deluxe I use because it controls my ICOM ICRD 500 really, really well with the USB to serial adapter. And you might think, well, why do you want to control a radio when you're listening to satellites? Well, there's one thing you got to know about a satellite, and it's Doppler shift. When you see a satellite, so the list of satellites that I actually gave you earlier, the satellite that I didn't seem to hear anything, the frequency that they had mentioned is 437,445. And one of the things that that happened here is I tuned a little higher. And the reason I tuned a little higher was to um, basically have the frequency already adapted for the Doppler shift a little bit. So that's why we can control a radio with the software. Orbitron actually does that. It can control a radio. If you have an SDR play device, SDR Uno has the capability of being and emulating a COM port so that you can actually control the Doppler shift. So when a satellite comes into view, what you need to know is that that satellite is moving so fast that the frequency shifts as it moves and approaches and then goes away from your location. That's very important to understand because a lot of people don't hear a satellite and say, bummer, I didn't hear the beacon of that satellite. And what they do is they look at the list and they say, oh, it's 437, 445. And they just stick there and stay there. And that's not the way it works. A satellite has a Doppler shift because of its speed. It's so fast that it actually compresses and even extends the waves of that frequency. If you remember old ambulances that would do, if you remember back then, I remember when I was young, I was fascinated by that. The ambulance, as it's moving towards you and moving away, the tone of the siren actually changes. Well, that's Doppler shift. On Earth, the Doppler shift with the siren of the ambulance is because frequencies in the sound that we hear are very low. Plus, with the air, there's a certain speed. The speed at which that sound goes is much lower than speed of light, like a radio signal. But it's the same principle. As the ambulance moves towards you, it compresses the sound waves in the air. Then, as it moves away, then the sound waves actually expand more. That is the shift in sound that you hear. It exactly the same thing happens with radio signals. The faster an object is moving, the more it will shift its frequency. It's the reason why we, in astronomy, we have something called redshift. The faster an object is moving away from us, the more the light is shifted towards the red. That's why it's called a red shift. And it happens also on the other scale. If something would move real fast towards us, it would shift the light into the blue scale. So that's because satellites move at roughly, we're talking here today of low Earth satellites. None of what we talk today in the show is about satellites that are orbiting, at geosynchronous orbits. These are very far away. We're not talking about that today. Today, we're talking about LEOs, or low Earth orbit satellites. Okay? This is what we're talking about. I'm just going to do a little something here. AO73, is that AO73? AO73. FunCube 1. We're going to try to listen to this satellite, actually. It's coming over now. I know it because I am following it on my Evans Above. If you have an Android phone or tablet, Evans Above is an amazing app that actually will give you all the amateur radio satellites and NOAA satellites for weather that are coming towards you. So this is a great app to actually have. This is on my 8-inch tablet here. So right now, AO73 is going to pass over. I'm going to try to get the get the beacon at least. 145.935. So let's go here quickly. Beacon is Morse code 145.935. 145.935. Let's put ourselves in upper sideband. Let's see if we can hear anything here. Well, I'm hearing some digital hash. So I think I'm hearing the satellite. And I believe the satellite has downlinks. So downlinks are 145.950 to 145.970. Here it says, it doesn't say anything about SSB or anything. So here, yeah, here they go. There's some single sideband there. We're just going to see if we can get any communications coming through. There was one communication. Some of the satellites of amateur radio, what is sad is sometimes the activity isn't very high. So there's November 4 station. And just try to get more volume here. So there's some amateurs talking. If you don't hear the voice real well, the patches that you see here, and here on the left side is some telemetry. So not the best of reception, but it gives you an idea of what you can actually get when you start tuning around some of the satellites. XW2F is another one that's fun. We're going to try XW2F also. That's one's coming up in a few minutes. It's actually rising right now. So XW2F, single sideband communications. Let's tune the frequency immediately. So XW2F to F, also known as CAS3F. So the downlink 145.980 to 146.00. That's where the single sideband is happening. And the beacon 145.975, usually in Morse code. So I'm going to go to 145.975. The way I do it usually is I try to get the beacon. And when the beacon is there, I know that means it's possible to see and hear the communication. So these satellites that I just am trying right now, these are single sideband, which means you'll need a scanner radio that has that capability. You'll need a communications receiver. That's what defines and makes a difference between those radios. A scanner radio usually is just FM, AM. A communications receiver will have all modes, including single sideband. So we'll see if we... Yeah, I'm hearing the beacon slightly right now. So I'm going to wait and see if we can hear it a little better. There's the beacon that I'm hearing right now. As the beacon gets stronger, then you can start looking at communications that are happening. What else do we have? Yeah, GPredict is a great piece of software. Radioactive says, I'm going to try using a tri-band and base antenna 144 for 40-1200. Try and get some extra gain on UHF frequencies. It is expensive, though. Yep. Branson, very good stream, although I focus on HF, but it's very instructive, and I will probably focus on these frequencies as well. Well, that also is something interesting because we one of the ideas behind this stream is maybe spark interest into another aspect of the hobby for those that are not there. So I don't know if you guys hear the CW or Morse code. The shift in tone that you hear is what I call the Doppler shift. So if you don't change the frequency to follow, the tone changes because the Doppler shift changes the frequency. Fortunately, we hear the beacon, but there's not a lot of activity on the bird, and that is one of the sad aspects of this. Is not every pass has a lot of activity. Sometimes you'll have tons of amateur stations all in that frequency range, and sometimes you'll have very, very few amateurs. And that's pretty much what's happening. We're hearing the beacon, but there's like no activity on the bird. Bobby, if someone can make software which allows to convert GPredict control data to CAT, it will use my SDR Play RSP1A to cache satellites. Catalin, the RSPDX mostly has better dynamic range and the lower part of the frequency spectrum, especially for long wave and medium wave DXers. If you take that out, it has the same frequency range. The RSP1A and RSPDX have the same frequency range. Using them side by side, I don't see a lot or not even a difference in its VHF UHF performance. So whatever you choose, RSP1A is a very good entry level SDR for doing all of this also. Madam Bali, 99 cents, buy the whole store. Yeah, I know. Radioactive hearing the CW tone from LO19. FF says 99 cents. I would have cleared the place. So, I should have purchased probably more because mine is very old now. It's like it's been outside it was outside where I lived before, and my mobile vertical now. And by the way, I was switching between the K180 WLA on this and the mobile vertical. Most of the time, my mobile vertical beat the K180 WLA. So, you know what? It's kind of interesting that I put both of them together, honestly, because I can actually switch quickly between one and the other and really have a good idea of the satellite tracking differences. Most of the time, I'm still hearing the beacon here in Morse code. Most of the time, the mobile vertical, that 99 cents antenna, is actually at a better signal here. Gives you an idea of how good it actually was. I should have purchased a lot because mine's been outside for the past 25 years. So that means that it's weathered and the winters and the summers, and it's starting to look like an old antenna. It still works great, but man, Matambali says I had good luck with this ancient RS Radio Shack discount. I think it's one of the earlier models and is a little bit more robust than the last model they sold. Yeah, I think the one I had was the last model that they had available. Matambali Diamond makes good discount, at least according to what I read on the HEAM. PLF Radio. Yep. Antenne super discount, 25, 3 gigahertz diamond. Yeah, that looks like a really good model, honestly. 135 euros. If I had to buy one, that's what I would probably purchase. Maybe I need to purchase one of those. That one, the D3000N discount, rated to go up to 3 gigahertz. That would be perfect for my radios that go to 2 gigahertz here. And it's good for transmit on 50, 144, 430, 904, and 1200 megahertz. So it's good for receive and transmit from 6 meters to 23 centimeters. So that's pretty cool, actually. That's looking really good. Looks like a very, very good antenna, actually. Understand the Times says I've got a Whistler WMM 860 desktop discount antenna. It made a huge difference versus a wideband whip. I'm pretty sure a good discount is probably better than what I have with a wideband vertical. David in Barcelona, nice to have you on board. WF7i, Earth, Moon, Earth, very challenging on SSB, but more hams doing it with digital modes now. Yeah, I guess Earth, Moon, Earth would be more, probably easier on FT8. That is such a weak signal mode. Wow, look at that. Eric Cottrell, nice to have you here. Look at that antenna. Whoa. I can only imagine having that in my backyard. Yeah, a repeater on the moon. That'd be cool. Or, the first amateur project of transmitting something from the surface of the moon that we could actually maybe hear even with modest equipment, Of the F7I says cross dipoles, if memory serves, allow for changes and polarization of the satellite signal as it passes. Same idea behind crossed Yagis. Interesting. So yeah, I've actually purchased that ARRL satellite handbook, and I think it's going to be nice to check it out. Look at that, guys! Right now, just check it out. Yeah, right now on 137.1. So if you guys want to hear what a NOAA weather satellite sounds like, one is over right now. What do I do? Wide FM. Oh, that's very wide. So what you're hearing here, this is NOAA 19 weather satellite on 137.100 passing overhead. It's not very good received, but it's there. The lines, all the different lines that you see here on the display are the lines of the different data streams of information from the APT, which is the camera. This is what Bobby Burgess decoded and that I showed earlier with the pictures. I need to do that and decode this at some point. I've never succeeded in doing it, actually. So this is something that I need to try. There's another XW2B that we might try in a few minutes. So I'm going to check it out. Eric Cottrell was taking advantage of the sales tax-free weekend and ran late. Did you get anything interesting radio-wise? Canadian Radio TV guy remembers when you had Pirate rebroadcasting your live show in 9630. I believe it was every so often that there was a station ID that would say this official shortwave channel something or other. Yeah, the Dove satellite. Oscar 17. Yes, that was exactly it. Oh, man, I love that satellite. It's one of those things that you want to, wow everybody. You say, look, there's a satellite coming over and it's going to ID itself. Eric Cottrell met Junior de Castro, PY2BJO. He was the chief designer for Dove Oscar 17. I had a ground station for the other microsats like AO16 that was launched in 1990. Wow, so cool. Take care, Catalin. That is so cool. A train horn. Absolutely, Keegan. You're right. A train horn is another example of changing. Madam Valley still thinking about a store full of 99-cent antennas. Oh, man. The wall, they had antennas for amateur radio, CB, scanners, commercial stuff, everything. And I tell you guys, every single antenna on the wall, there was a big sign, 99 cents. I bought my vertical, and I remember I went back about a week later thinking I'm going to get another one. What do you think happened? There was nothing on the wall. I'm pretty sure some guy came in and said, I'm taking everything, and bought all of what they had. Michael Woods, I use W1ANT satellite tracker and ISS tracker pro on Android. Both prove amateur satellite up and downlink frequencies, which make it a lot easier than having to try to find them on Google. Yeah, well, like I use JE9 satellite page, and what's nice about it is the fact that it tells you which ones are still active. But you know what? I'm gonna check that satellite tracker that you're talking about. I'm actually gonna download it here on my old S9. Let me just check it out here. So, boop. Anybody on iOS? Okay, so Michael Woods uses GoSat Watch on iOS. Anybody using anything else on iOS? I haven't used an iPhone or an iPad in such a long time. I'm wondering what's available in satellite tracking software now. Because one of the other things you need to know when a satellite is over is when will it be over you? Because these are low Earth satellites. And so they aren't received all the time. You need to... So, okay, cool. W1ANT. I'm actually going to purchase it. Here we go, Pro. One tab buy. Okay, so I got it. I'm going to check it out and actually talk about it on the channel, Michael Woods. Thanks for suggestion. No thanks. So it's installing right now. I purchased the Pro version. So I'm going to talk about it on the channel. David says, I use Ham Radio Deluxe, last free version, to drive the ICOM IC7100. The software is older than the radio, but I made it work by selecting 7610 and setting the right cat parameters for 7100. Cool. I also use the last free version on controlling my 8500, and works great, actually. Really works great. Oh, yeah, that's for sure. But so you can actually hear it in CW mode for the Doppler shift, that's for sure. Mad Radio DXer. But it has a pretty important impact also in the FM reception, because those that are FM repeaters, what's happening with that is that the Doppler shift might be enough that sometimes they're a little difficult to receive. Scanner radios have that problem that they are often on fixed steps, 5 kilohertz or 12.5 kilohertz, depending on the range you are in. You can't change it. Sometimes the Doppler shift is a problem for that because it will be off enough to kind of make the reception a little bad. So going up 5 and going back down 5 might be useful for an FM repeater satellite. XW2B is coming in. Let's check it out here. XW2B. XW2B. So that one is 145725. Check it out. 145725. Let's try the... I know there's a couple of the XW that are kind of defective. Yeah, that one I think is one of the defective ones. I hear a tone. Right now I hear it. I hear the tone. It's just a tone instead of Morse code. And I've noticed that those don't seem to have any traffic. So the lines that you see here are all created by the satellite in orbit, the XW2B satellite passing overhead. So I have the impression that it might be defective. Yeah, it seems to be defective. All I hear is that tone. But we do hear the Doppler shift really well. So I would guess that one is kind of defective, XW2B. I mean, it transmits, but doesn't have anything else than that. SoCal, what antenna are you using? Sorry, if covered before. First time listening. Usually listen to shortwave show. So, like I said, I'm using two tonight. Right now, I'm on antenna A, which is the loop, the K180 WLA loop, and antenna B, which is the mobile vertical. In this case, I actually hear it better than the K180, probably because it's directional and it's better on that one right now. But, depending on where the satellite's position, both the K180 and my mobile loop actually work great. It depends on where the satellite's position, actually. Michael Woods, so that what the satellites, like the amateur satellites, when they're sending Morse code, very often the Morse code will have the satellite identification. So it's going to give its satellite ID. Then it's going to give different details. It depends on the satellites. When you go to the pages of those that actually build a satellite, they often tell you what information you can get off the beacon. Some will give state of the computer on board, temperature, internal temperature, battery voltage, all sorts of little details that kind of tells them how well the satellite is actually running. So by listening to the beacon and identifying what it's telling you, they know if the satellite might be soon going haywire or if it's still going strong and working well. So it depends on each satellite. And some have digital modes that you can actually decode, but with very specific software. So there are some of these satellites in orbit that actually, if you go, and that's where knowing who made the satellite is a good idea. Often they have specific software. That team that made the satellite, which is often a university group, they have a specific software that you install on your PC, and that gives you straight out the type of telemetry or information that you actually get from that satellite. So it's kind of lots of information in there. It's very surprising. Randy, Riverside, California, nice to have you on board. What else do we have? Shitty Pyro 90 A07 coming. Alme Sams has been using the RSPDX for 80SB in over the last couple of days. Works great if you have just perfect antenna. Now, and I've heard never received Earth Moon Earth because I don't have Earth Moon Earth transmissions need to have very directional antennas and low noise amplifiers. So you need to have very, very specific and very good equipment for Earth Moon Earth reception. Eric says, I got some wall shelving to put some radios on. Cool. A wall of radios. So what else do we have? Take care, Man Radio DXer. It's nice to have you on board. So that's the thing. Now, like we were saying, you've got to have some software to do some to know when a satellite is over your area. And that's the other thing. What do you do to know when a satellite is over your area? So we talked about different software. So I use, like I said, Evans Above on the tablet. So with Evans Above, you have the way that it actually presents itself. You have this interface at the start. On the left side, you have the International Space Station that has its own place for viewing when it's going to pass over. International Space Station, by the way, is monitorable. You can listen to, there's a 145, 800, I believe, which is the 825, sorry, 145, 825, which is the packet bulletin where you'll little bursts of data. When they do some experiments, they do have, and that's always very cool, slow scan television pictures being sent out that you can decode with slow scan TV software. These are so easy to listen to that, once again, just using a little scanner radio like this is enough to hear a good enough signal to decode a picture from the slow scan TV they're sending out. And I'm not joking. People tend to think that this is a hobby, a very difficult hobby. And here's Mr. Star of the show once again. So people tend to think you need some really specialized equipment to listen to low Earth satellites and stuff. Really not. It's really amazing how you don't need a lot to actually do some satellite listening. It is truly one of those things that you will often be capable of with probably what you already have in your own home. If you're a radio geek, if you've been a scanner radio buff before, it's very, very simple. Radio satellites, once again, side of things, which is amateur radio and NOAA weather. Once again, I will stress out that some of them are in UHF, some of them in the 430 megahertz range, some of them are in the VHF 2-meter band for amateur radio. If you want to do so, let's hand with the software. I'm moving too fast here into something else. So I use what you see here is an old piece of software. It's called Orbitron. Orbitron you can get from, if you have a Windows PC. And by the way, if you have an old computer out there, that is still running Windows XP or Windows 7, and you just don't plug it on the internet anymore, but you want to do something with it, this is actually a very, very good piece of software to install on an old PC. And you know what? An old Windows XP machine, why not dedicate it to just tracking satellites? You'll at least be using it doing something. Because, these older PCs, they still work. And, I'm pretty sure a lot of you out there, just like me, feel bad thinking, well, it doesn't run anything else than Windows XP at the latest. And it works. I'd like to do or dedicate that to do something. Well, you can install Orbitron, for example, in an old Windows PC. The only thing is you'll have to have it on the internet just temporarily so it can actually get the TLEs, or the latest two-line elements that we call. So that's the link for Orbitron. If you're using Orbitron in a modern operating system, Windows 10, Windows 8, one of the very important things to do is you have to right-click the executable and have it run in administrative mode in compatibility. The reason is, if you don't do that, it will not give permission for writing on the disk, and your two-line elements, the satellite tracking elements, are not going to be updated. And one of the things you need to know about satellite tracking is that the elements, the information that the software has for the satellites in low Earth orbit, needs to be very recent. Very, very recent if you're really tracking the International Space Station, because they do orbit corrections regularly. So having, your information out of like 3 weeks ago is already enough for not even getting the right time it's going to pass over. Regular amateur satellites is not as heavy, so even if it's a month old, usually it's still good enough. But you do want to have as late latest information as possible on the satellite tracking to be accurate. And it's very important. One of the reasons also is that satellites in orbit have a very slight drag. So we tend to think of satellites in orbit as something that is like always there, and we nothing changes, but it's not the way it works. What happens is that low Earth orbit still has just a little bit of air, just enough atoms that there's a very, very small drag. And the satellite, as it orbits and orbits, that drag changes its orbit very slowly. That's why I want to have the latest information in your software for the tracking. It's even worse when we get to high solar activity, because when the solar activity is very high, it actually expands the atmosphere, and that expansion of the atmosphere drags the satellites even more. Even worse when there's solar flares, something that we don't think about. And that's why every now and then a satellite falls back down, because the drag over years and years and years makes them fall back down. So the low Earth orbit satellites that we have right now will all eventually fall back. Depending on how well they were positioned, some will take longer. Some have little thrusters that enable them to kind of just like creep back up a little bit every time they go too low. But eventually the thrust doesn't have any, there's no more gas in there, so it can't really push itself up again. But low Earth orbit satellites eventually all fall back down on Earth. So if we would disappear today as a civilization, well, those satellites in the next hundreds of years would all one by one slowly fall back down on Earth until eventually there would be nothing left in low Earth orbit. The ones in geosynchronous orbits and higher orbits, those are very far away. The drag isn't really there. Those tend to be, I don't know if those would eventually fall back. If they do, it's probably because maybe more of the influence of the gravity of planets than anything else. But I would tend to think that they're going to stay there forever, pretty much. David says, I use an app called Look for Sat on my Huawei Android smartphone. So far, the best of all past prediction apps I've tried. Look for Sat. Let me check it out here. Look for Sat. Okay. Let me check that out here. So, by the way, to allow, we were talking about W1ANT Pro Satellite Tracker. So I've got it installed. We're checking that out today. And it is nice because it, let me check it out here. Satellite groups, all satellites, FM only. Oh, that is nice though, because it gives you all satellites or FM only satellites and so on. Okay, that is nice. Settings, minimum elevation. Okay, let's put 20. Okay. So if I click on one, clicking on satellite gives you paths and also, yeah, okay, interesting. And so you look for sats. Okay, look for those that are running Android, like Android, Linux, G-Predict is a good choice for Android, for Linux, sorry. Look for Sat Radio Tracker. Okay, I'm going to install that too. Thanks, guys. Two software I didn't know about. And that's why it's fun to have a community like this. Everybody helps each other. There's, like I say all the time, I might be the big guy that knows everything, but I don't. And, I'm installing new software that you guys are using, and it's kind of cool. What else do we have? Darren Haig uses weather track to track sets. Michael Woods, that makes sense. I always get told my Keplers are 350 days out of date every time I update. Yeah, in Orbitron, you have to give admin rights so that it actually Windows gonna give it permission to write to the disk. Because if you don't if you don't give the admin rights, because the Windows 8, Windows 10 is more secure, it doesn't let every software write wherever they want like before. In Windows XP, it did. In Windows XP, you could write wherever you wanted. Software had, total control. In Windows 10, Windows 8, they changed that. To write to certain areas of the disk, you need admin mode. And that's where you need to tell Orbitron, right-click on the icon, the executable, go into Properties, go into Compatibility, and just put that check mark in administrative mode or admin. Once that is done, when they are actually going to update the Keplers, they are actually going to update for real now. And you're going to be with the latest Keplers rather than having the 350 days old ones. Okay. Please update TLE. Okay. I remember tracking satellites in DOS with a software. Okay. World map view. Okay. Well, these are nice. I'm going to check out these software. Thanks for sharing what you guys use. I was definitely going to check it out. What else do we have? Could you use a flash drive to update the TLE files for Orbitron using Windows XP? I think that you probably can. I have never done it, so I'm not sure. But you probably could do it. If you don't want to because putting a Windows XP or even a Windows 7 machine now on the internet is risky. A lot of security flaws. Windows XP is worse. So I would tend to think, that's a really good question that I'm going to actually try to update manually my Orbitron to see if it works well and how to do it. And I'll post a video, because that video, even if it's done for Windows 10, will still be valid for Windows XP. But, it's a great way to dedicate an old computer to something, at least that it still works, Eric Cottrell says, in DOS, I used Quick Track and Instant Track. I've met developers of both programs. I'm trying to remember what the name was. It had a world map on it. I remember it had a world map on it. Because there was one that was text-based that I think is Quick Track. And that I used to give me lists. I would print on my dot matrix printer a list of the satellites for the afternoon and go out and with my scanner radios. But there was one that was with a graphic user interface. And I would go to Celeste Track BBS in Vancouver, download the TLEs once a month to keep it updated by going, with a modem, just their BBS, and downloading the TLEs, because the internet was not there then, but it was there, but not for us. Hubert Major, what a great afternoon this is. Satellites, links, software, scanners, antennas, stories, memories, new stuff, learn incroyable. Ça me fait plaisir, Hubert. It is a lot of fun, especially among radio geeks, to have all of this going on. That's for sure. Yeah, that's what I think too, Darren Hing. TLE files are usually sent out as text files, so I would think you just download the text files and replace the ones in Orbitron with a USB thumb drive would work fine. So Canadian radio TV guys, sometimes when you go to the 462 megahertz range, you can hear people or little kids talking on their walkie-talkies. I always get out the Baofeng and see if I find what frequencies they're transmitting on. Yeah, these are the FRS GMRS that we talked a little earlier. Just to give you guys an idea, if you guys want to listen to those talkies, those GMRS talkies, FRS GMRS frequencies, which is 22 channels. And depending on where you are in the US and Canada, it's very, very different. But here are the channels and the frequencies that you can monitor. This is actually, I believe in my Pro 43 here, I have a bank of frequencies that are just for that. So the GMRS are the little talkies that you see like at Walmart, or here in Canada, there's a lot of them in Canadian tires. And often they say that, these make like 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 kilometers range. These are UHF walkie-talkies. Now, in Canada and the United States, they're very different in the way that we use them. In Canada, you can get the GMRS talkies, 22 channels without a license. In the US, there are requirements for a license. And I know that you guys in the US are allowed something that here we are not. You're allowed to have repeaters on those frequencies. But I just posted the link to a list, the radio reference list. There you have all the US, the UHF frequencies of all the channels. Yes, AMSAT does send Keplerian elements weekly. They even send the Keplerian elements. I believe they still do that. Send them by radio teletype when you listen to W1AW. I believe they still do that. But you got to have satellite tracking. You got to understand that a satellite, when it passes over your area, is depending on its altitude, is from, you'll hear it from 10 to 20, 25 minutes max. Usually a pass from one horizon to the other is about 15, 20 minutes. And that's where you need to listen. So that's why you need to know when they are on. If you are listening to some of these signals in single sideband, you need to know and understand the Doppler shift. You don't just stand on one frequency and listen and wait. You have to go through that list. Some that have the different single sideband kind of repeaters, if you want, it's a frequency range. So often you'll have 20 kilohertz, 30 kilohertz to scan in that frequency range. So and SDR is cool for that because the SDR lets you visualize it. In a regular radio, just scan and tune around that range that they give you until you hear stuff. That's very important. That's the way you're going to hear signals. But if you listen in all the time, and try these different frequencies, you will, as time goes by, hear some signals. Darren Hank says, yeah, I know, and you guys in UK, it's called PMR 446 for the kids' talkies. So, hey, we've kind of covered the basics today. I think it was a lot of fun, and I think we're going to have another VHF UHF live show not that far off in time. So I hope you enjoyed what we did today. I'm going to take the rest of the evening off and take it easy. Hope you found this interesting, entertaining, and that you enjoyed part of it. I will try to do one thing I want to do this week is what I want to do this week is try to post a series of videos with specific satellites, frequencies, and what equipment to listen in, and that is going to be really cool to check it out. So I hope you enjoyed that, and like I said, we'll also try to have regular VHF UHF shows with different aspects of the 30 megahertz and above frequency range and what you can listen to. Thanks for being here, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this Sunday night show. We'll try to be back in a very near future. Remember, this week is the last week I'm taking the week off, so don't search for the shortwave shows. I'm not going to be here. We're going to be back on the shortwave show on regular schedule every week starting Wednesday, September 9th. So Wednesday, September the 9th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 0 hours Universal Time. And we're going to be back on, of course, then after that, the regular schedule and the Friday shows at 4 p.m. Eastern, 20 hours UT. And we'll try to... I'll try to make at least a monthly VHF UHF show talking about different stuff and try to help everybody. And like I said, with what I'm gonna get now with the console, and the audio console and everything, we'll try to have experts talk about something that could be a lot of fun. Take care, everybody. Tune your scanner radios, your wideband receivers, and check out what's everywhere. It's very important. I get still a lot of people saying everything's digital, nothing to listen to. You're not tuning that radio enough because there's still a lot of stuff that's analog. But you got to search for it. Take care, my friends. Stay safe. I love you all. And see you soon. Bye-bye.